Now, in the 20th century, there were two economic systems that dominated the world. These systems are capitalism and communism. Now, the first economic system that stood out was capitalism, which emerged during the times of industrial revolution. Yes, it's emerged during the times of industrial revolution. Now, industrial revolution took place mainly from the 1750s and 1850. Now, what was it that made capitalism to stood out? Or normal, what entailed capitalism? Now, in capitalism, we find that there were people who were called capitalists who owned private corporations, who controlled the wealth of the states, who owned means of production such as mines. They also owned land. They also owned private companies or businesses. Now, the capitalists employed workers and exploited the workers so that they could make huge profits. And then, due to that very fact, we find that the workers compared to the capitalists were very poor. Now, it is this reason why we find communism being introduced to Russia. Alright, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this very interesting background brings us to a very prominent figure in bringing about these very interesting ideas about communism and capitalism. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, Karl Marx. Now, I don't know if you've heard about Karl Marx, but Karl Marx is a very prominent figure in communism and capitalism. Karl Marx was a 19th century political German thinker or a German political thinker who expressed his ideas in the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital, which means capitalism. So he wrote books. Yes, he wrote books where he expressed his ideas and beliefs, which when you bring them together, they give you Marxism. Now, Karl Marx was dismayed that all the wealth of the states in Russia, all the wealth of the states was in the hands of the bourgeoisie. Now, the bourgeoisie are the middle class capitalists who controlled the wealth of the states. Karl Marx believed that while these capitalists controlled the wealth of the states, the workers were trapped in poverty. Why were the workers trapped in poverty? This is because the workers were receiving very much low salaries or wages. They were exploited, they were working in conditions that no human being should work in. Now, because of these situations that brought dreadful conditions to the workers and the people of Russia itself, Karl Marx believed that there would be a revolution. Now, in explaining his revolution, he outlines certain points. He says that, or he believes that throughout the whole history, he finds that the rich or the haves would be overthrown by the poor, the have-nots. Now, I want you to understand that the rich are called the haves because they have something, and then the poor are called the have-nots because they own nothing. Now, Karl Marx believes that the haves would be overthrown by the have-nots. Why is this? Why is it like that? Now, Karl Marx believed that the capitalists or the haves employed the workers and paid them very low wages and exploited them so that they could make profits themselves. Alright. Now, he believes that the workers would then arrive to a certain point where they would want to bring about a revolution. Why would they want to do that? It's because they would have had enough of being exploited and receiving very low wages. Now, Karl Marx says that this revolution needs to be violent. Why does it need to be violent? He believes that if it is violent, then there would be a revolution, because without violence, then the capitalists would refuse to hand over their power and wealth to the people of the society. Now, after this revolution have been achieved, he believes that the workers would then have a political authority, or as he put it, there would be the dictatorship of the proletariat, which means the workers would be in power, there would be no government, and there would be no divisions in the society. There would be no rich people, no poor people. That's what Karl Marx believes in. Very interesting indeed, yes. Now, Karl Marx, he then, in the Communist Manifesto book, he then extensively explains that after the workers have control over the wealth or the means of production, then there would be a transitional phase to communism. Now, what is this transitional phase called? This transitional phase is called socialism. Alright, there are so many ways to explain socialism, but before I explain socialism, I would like you to understand that now we have three economic systems. We have three economic systems that I have introduced to you. We have capitalism, we have socialism, and then we have communism. In our previous lesson, I did explain to you what is communism, but just in case you have forgotten, communism, it is a classless, or communism expresses the ideas of a classless society where no one is rich and no one is poor, and the capitalism expresses the ideas of a society where people who are rich exploit the people who are poor. And socialism is what I'm going to explain to you right now. Socialism is a transitional phase. It is a phase whereby the means of production are owned by the state, and then the state is responsible to provide for the people of that particular state. And then after socialism, we have communism. Now, communism, it is a classless society where no one is rich and no one is poor. People are equal. That is what communism is. So Karl Marx believes that there will be capitalism, there will be revolution, there will be the dictatorship of the proletariat, there will be socialism, and then there will be communism. Now, I hope that you understand everything that I have explained so far, because I am going to leave you with some questions that you need to answer as groups. Now, these questions are so for me to understand if you understood the concepts of capitalism, socialism, and communism. Now, I want you to explain to me what is the difference between socialism and communism. And I want you to explain to me your understanding. I want you to give me your view on this one. Which one would you prefer between capitalism and communism? Now, if you say that you choose capitalism, you have to give me points to support your argument. And if you say that you are going with communism, you still have to give me points to support your arguments. Now, the questions that you have to deal with are only two questions. You tell me what is the difference between socialism and communism, and you also tell me what do you prefer between capitalism and communism, and then you give me points to support your arguments. That's all.